NBC News uncovers new evidence on the MIA pictures, evidence that supports the Pentagon's case that the pictures are fake.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Sitting in for Tom tonight is Jane Pauley.
Good evening. There is new information on the picture that ignited an old debate. Are Americans still being held prisoner in Southeast Asia? Investigators have gone there to check it out. And for families holding out hope for 20 years, the news is not good. NBC's George Lewis has these exclusive details from Cambodia.
All along, Pentagon officials said they were skeptical about this photograph. Tonight, they feel they've got evidence to back up that skepticism. A team of investigators from the Defense Intelligence Agency spent 5 days in Cambodia. The 3 officials left this morning without making any public statements about what they discovered. But NBC News has learned that their investigation took them to the Cambodian port city of Kampong Som, where they interviewed a merchant said to be the source of the mysterious photo. He had sold it as part of a package of several pictures purportedly showing American MIAs. In 2 of these photos obtained today by NBC News, there are dates apparently superimposed over the original photographs. May 25th, 1990, identical to the date in the photo of the 3 men. In that picture, and one of those obtained today, the writing style is similar. Notice the extra curls on the number 2. Another group said to be American prisoners, but they're dressed in heavy clothing, unsuitable for Indochina. One man wearing a Russian-style fur hat. The Defense Department believes all the photos were clipped from Soviet magazines, that the men in them are not Americans, not POWs. The original version of this photo appeared in the January 1990 issue of the magazine Sovietsky Soyuz. The man identified as one of the staff of a Soviet weather station in Antarctica, apparently a cook. And from the same issue, this man is identified as a metal worker at a factory near Moscow. In Washington, former Vietnam POW Eugene McDaniel, who released the original photo of the 3 men, does not deny it could be a forgery, but says the Pentagon is too eager to dismiss all MIA leads.
I've explained it away, and it's just another case. It's almost predictable that they will continue to discredit everything that comes out of that part of the world, almost as if somebody doesn't want those men to come home.
Even if there are new doubts about the photo of the 3 men, the question of whether living American prisoners of war are still held in Indochina simply will not go away. On Wednesday, a group of visiting U.S. congressmen will arrive here to conduct their own investigation into the matter. George Lewis, NBC News, Phnom Penh, Cambodia.
While the source of those pictures may not be credible, there are those whose faith is unshaken that live Americans are still being held, and they have an influential ally. NBC's Pentagon correspondent Fred Francis joins us with that story. Fred?
Jane, Pentagon officials concede they would not be on the defensive today if they had been more conscientious and less secretive about fraudulent pictures in the past. There have been, they say, as many concocted stories of live American prisoners as there have been remains brought back in 2 decades. For years, the Hanoi government made it nearly impossible to verify or discount some reports and the flimsy evidence which accompanied the claims. And according to Colonel Mike Peck, who recently resigned over the issue, duplicity from the Vietnamese leads him to believe they are hiding Americans.
They do such things as they ignore obvious leads or issues in these joint investigations. They introduce coached or irrelevant witnesses. They take us to improbable or staged crash sites. They overlook information that's readily available, and they either fake or manipulate the facts or just outright lie.
Peck charges too many pilots went down and were later seen alive, too many reports went unchecked in the years since, and too many defense and diplomatic insiders would just as soon see the issue die. Peck told Faith Daniels on the Today program that after reviewing all the files over 8 months, he believes.
I think the evidence that I have is a conglomerate of everything that I've seen. What I've seen, the efforts that have been taken to what I think stonewall the issue, I think are evidence also that there are probably guys still over there.
Senior defense officials categorically deny Peck's accusation of stonewalling, but admit he is a credible officer whose charges fuel the fires of hope for the families. Jane?
Fred, little more than hope has sustained the MIA families, but as NBC's Diana Karicki reports, they haven't given up.
At the Miners' Day Parade in Big Bear, California, people remembered one of their own. Navy Lieutenant Larry James Stevens, shot down over Laos. His mother is as sure as ever that he's alive.
Oh, I know he's coming home. I'm sure of it.
In Santa Ana, California, Barbara Robertson saves clips about her husband, Air Force Colonel John Robertson. New doubts about this photo only make her more determined to find him.
I know that's my husband. I know that's his picture. I would like anyone who says that picture is a fraud to look me in the eye and say they know that man better than I do.
Albro Lundy believes his father is the third man in the photo.
They are who we say they are. The question is, where are they now, and how can we get them out?
These families are unshakable in their belief that their loved ones are alive and that the government hasn't done enough to get MIAs out of Asia.
And this is what makes me so furious, that we've had to fight for 22 and a half years. How many have died waiting for somebody to come and get them? Our government sent them over there, and they have done nothing.
If indeed the men are alive, their families do not believe they're bitter.
After he comes home, I'll bet the first thing he does is say, God bless America. And I mean it.
The new photo filled these families with hope. Whether it is real or not, they're more determined than ever to find their loved ones, and are even willing to take matters into their own hands.
We're all ready. We're going. If they don't bring those men out within the next 60 or 90 days, the families are going over there.
Diana Karicki, NBC News, Los Angeles.
When nightly news continues, hard questions are being asked after the sinking of that cruise ship off South Africa. And tonight's Daily Difference in the 90s. Looking for a weather forecaster who knows which way the wind blows? Robert Hager has some disturbing news.
Because some aches and pains don't go away when the lights go out, we've created new Tylenol PM, specially formulated with extra-strength Tylenol pain reliever for those aches and pains that can keep you up at night, plus a gentle ingredient to help you sleep, so you can wake up refreshed in the morning. From the name you trust comes new Tylenol PM, so you can rest easy.
Today, there's a prescription-strength cure for athlete's foot. Lotrimin AF, the #1 prescribed athlete's foot medication available without a prescription. Lotrimin AF, the prescription-strength cure for athlete's foot.
I swim, I jog. I love junk food. Sometimes even I get constipation.
When it happens to you, X-Lax pills give you a choice. Extra gentle for a little help, regular for a little more. X-Lax, for regular people who sometimes aren't.
Passengers rescued from that doomed cruise ship off South Africa are aiming some angry accusations at the ship's captain and crew. The Oceanos sailed from East London and sank soon after in stormy seas off South Africa's so-called wild coast. NBC's Charles McLean has the latest developments.
An amateur photographer captured these pictures of the rescue. It was an astonishing operation. 571 passengers and crew members saved from the sinking ocean liner. Organizers of the cruise were overjoyed.
You will agree with me, a miracle has happened here. There was no loss of life.
Despite the happy ending, there's growing criticism of the captain and the crew.
I and 21 people on board that boat, survivors, did not see an officer from 9 o'clock until I believe the final evacuation was made at something like 1 o'clock.
The passengers, they don't know. They don't understand what happened.
Captain Yanis Avranis was on the defensive today, accused of deserting a ship he knew was sinking.
I knew the ship is sunk, but I didn't say anything just because I don't like the panic.
Avranis admits he left the Oceanos on a rescue helicopter before all the passengers had been evacuated.
Either if I stay, I could help.
Allegations of misconduct during the rescue follow reports that while the Oceanos was in port on Saturday, Captain Avranis denied police permission to search the ship after an anonymous bomb threat. The tour operators confirmed today that the South African government will mount an inquiry into the sinking of the Oceanos. Even though all of the passengers survived, questions remain about the captain and crew who abandoned them on a sinking ship. Charles McLean, NBC News, Johannesburg.
In this country, another investigation. Democratic leaders announced today that Congress will look into charges that the 1980 Reagan campaign struck a deal to delay the release of American hostages from Iran. NBC's Andrea Mitchell is in Washington with more. Andrea?
Jane, it is the story that just won't die. Democrats admit that the evidence is circumstantial, but say they have decided to investigate. The Speaker conceded that there is no conclusive evidence that any such deal took place.
I was convinced that these persistent rumors, which have gone for so long and have occupied the attention of news media, both here and abroad, indicate that the inquiry should be taken.
The charge that spymaster William Casey, while running the 1980 Reagan campaign, offered arms to the Ayatollah in exchange for delaying the hostage release until after the election. The known facts: Jimmy Carter waited in vain for word that the hostages were free, until minutes after Ronald Reagan had taken the oath of office.
The hostages were held until moments after Mr. Reagan took office. And then later, as president, he authorized the secret transfer of arms to Iran. Now, the question is, did they occur independently, or was there a secret deal?
Former Carter aide Gary Sick gave the story new life last spring.
When Casey went to Madrid during the course of the campaign in July and August, met with a high-ranking Iranian official, Mehdi Karoubi, who is now the Speaker of the Majlis, and they talked about the hostages.
I think the allegations are just extremely serious. If they are true, and we do not have conclusive evidence that they were, it indicates that the constitutional processes of the country with regard to foreign policy were strongly violated.
This whole thing that I was worried about that as a campaign thing is absolute fiction.
The charge has infuriated George Bush.
How do you clear your name? Maybe the investigation is it, but it has to be based on fact. It can't just go out there and have a billion-dollar witch hunt.
No one can say how much the investigation will cost, and with Casey dead, investigators may never know the truth. If that happens, voters may get angry that Democrats are spending tax dollars to chase 10-year-old rumors. Jane?
Iraq has admitted for the first time it conducted germ warfare research, which it denied as recently as 3 months ago. A United Nations inspection team was told the research stopped last fall after the invasion of Kuwait because of fears it would invite Allied attack.
They go to extremes to prove the engine durability of this Cadillac.
Hold on, Art. Let's dust them.
Punishing GM's V8 with the extremes of nature, with raging sand and freezing snow. One more reason why, after 5 years of driving, no luxury car made in America is more reliable than Cadillac.
Hey, Tom, how you doing back there?
Still going strong. With 99 models redesigned and engineered, GM is putting quality on the road.
Red Lobster announces 6 great new trios with all the tastes you love, like large butterfly shrimp.
Terrific.
Try it on our Atlantic Trio, just $6.99.
$6.99?
For a limited time, only at Red Lobster.
Now, Red Lobster's lunch menu is available Sunday, too. So many great dishes to choose from for so little. Most lunches $4.99 or less. All week at Red Lobster for lunch. Now served Sunday, too.
Like to try Total?
Mom says grape nuts.
Hope you're hungry. It takes 4 bowls of grape nuts to get the vitamins in 1 bowl of Total. Total has 100% of a day's supply of 12 vitamins and minerals.
You tell her.
Total, 1 bowl, 100%.
In this, our 100th year of helping people travel, we'd like to offer one more piece of advice. Have fun. American Express traveler's checks. Don't leave home without them.
Our daily difference tonight in the 90s. Predicting the weather may be as much an art as a science, but if you've noticed the weather reports seem to miss as much as they hit lately, blame the science. The National Weather Service is facing a storm of criticism. NBC's Robert Hager.
2 years ago this month, tornadoes ravaged Plainfield, Illinois. Damage everywhere. There was virtually no warning from the Chicago Weather Center. Its radar to measure such storms wasn't working. 29 people died. November 1989, Newburgh, New York. An elementary school filled with children. Out of nowhere, undetected by Weather Service radar, a tornado slams into the building. 8 children die. Despite the promise of futuristic equipment, forecasts aren't improving. In fact, the National Weather Service's own records from a recent 3-year period show an incredibly high number of misses. Tornadoes, 68% missed. Flash floods, 64% missed. Severe thunderstorms, 40% missed. Why? The Commerce Department, which controls the Weather Service, would not comment, nor would it let Weather Service officials be interviewed about this. But the Weather Service was summoned to a hearing conducted by Congressman Dan Glickman to answer questions about a tornado it missed on April 26th in Kansas. 20 people died. There is agreement that if a new high-tech radar called NEXRAD had been in place, the tornado could have been tracked. Instead, it relied on a system built in 1957 that literally lost the storm.
As the tornado raged across Sedgwick County, it passed within the ground clutter of our radar. Because of this, the data was unreliable.
Congressman Glickman is outraged.
That if they don't act on this, if they don't get the equipment into Weather Service, weather bureaus, weather stations around this country, people will die of tornado damage.
There is only one NEXRAD operating in Oklahoma, and it works well. But a squabble with the contractor, Unisys, stopped all other installation last February. Now, equipment is finally being delivered again, such as at this site outside Washington, D.C., where it's been frustrating for the meteorologist in charge, Jim Belleville.
The radars that we're using now are mid-50s to mid-70s vintage, and quite honestly, they're getting to be very unreliable.
It'll be early fall before this NEXRAD site is operational. 158 others are waiting in the wings. And NEXRAD is just one big problem. Another is the Weather Service satellite, which tracks hurricanes and other major storms. It's running out of fuel and could shut down sometime next year.
Here's the flow in the atmosphere at about 20,000 feet.
It's the one all the TV weather forecasters rely on. It's called GOES, was launched 17 years ago, and another more sophisticated satellite called GOES Next was supposed to replace it this summer. But GOES Next is far from ready. It, too, a victim of bugs and problems traced to its builders, Ford Aerospace and ITT. So it may be that the U.S. will have to turn to foreigners for help and use either a European or Japanese satellite to take over until GOES Next is launched, and that could be a couple of years. A Weather Service ceremony honoring volunteer observers from across the country who help provide important data about weather patterns and storms. These people were praised for their dependability and accuracy. But it's the Weather Service's high-tech equipment which can't be trusted. And unless it's updated, the future of U.S. forecasting may be endangered. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Tomorrow's Daily Difference, what works? For people who are mentally ill, a friend could be hard to come by until now.